Hello, welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. Today, we're giving you a first impressions of Oath. And when I say first impressions, I really mean we've all had about 3 plays in this game. Now, if you're curious, we are planning on doing a series of campaign videos here. I know this is the first video you're seeing. It's because we're setting up. One of those first plays is available right now over on Patreon. One of them that we actually just finished playing is going to be coming to the channel in just about a week. So if you're excited about Oath, if you want to see a full 3 or 4 play campaign, hit the subscribe button down below and, stick with us for this journey. Now I'm going to take a little bit of a step back. I'm Jesse from Quackalope. This is Jan Bigas, my co-host, and Shira, the Overlord.
Yeah, is the official term?
Apparently that's the official term. Shira, or Jan, give us an overview of what this game is, and then let's get into opinions, because I think we have a few.
I take it? Okay,
yes.
So Oath, Chronicles of Exile, of Empire in Exile, right? Is a resource management, hand management, tableau building, and area control game designed by Cole Worley. In this game, you are all technically trying to get control or take control away from the Chancellor. There's a little bit of asymmetry at the beginning of each game.
It's like the root factions, but you have one core tribe of citizens and exiles.
And one
overlord that starts with a bunch of power.
And that's important because that person is starting with stronger presence at the beginning of the game. So everything is unbalanced when you start. However, throughout the game, there will be certain conditions that can be met, like visions, that insert variable winning conditions.
Now, what that is if you kind of imagine Root with the different cards that you could draw that allow you to
take your scoring marker off the board and
dominance
and meet a win condition, like rule the 4 corners of the map, or rule all the red clearings or the yellow clearings.
Now, I know in Root that's impossible to do, but here they've taken that concept and actually applied it in a way that's accessible, like having the most control, or owning the most relics, or potentially having the most favor with a group of people or a tribe. And so the win condition, while it seems like the Chancellor is in charge, the exiles can find ways to sneak and cut and trim corners and take control.
And not just that, those exiles, if they think that the tide is too much in favor of the Chancellor, can try and sweeten or convince the Chancellor to bring them into the fray by transforming them into citizens. Suddenly, these two people start kind of get into a cohort. They start working together. However, every condition or every goal has an alternative winning condition.
They could be the successor, which means if the Chancellor ends the game, or the citizen ends the game, the Chancellor may not be passing his throne down to a hare. Instead, he's passing it down.
Hare. We're not playing with bunnies.
Instead, he's passing it down. Well, in this game, we might be. Instead, he's passing it down to a successor, which is actually one of the citizens in his court, and they're taking the victory condition. Now, all that being said, we're going to get to opinions right now. This, at its heart, is going to be a tableau building, resource management, and area control game.
All the things.
Those 3 things. That's the cornerstone of what this is. And as the designated area control spokeswoman, first impressions, thoughts?
First impressions.
Where are we right now?
It was intense. I mean, even though the maximum time it can last is 8 rounds, those 8 rounds get very tense, especially once we bring this variable dice into play.
Now let's try not to spoil anything.
Okay. So it can get really tense up until the very last round, where citizens and exile people are trying to take over from the Chancellor. Yeah, intense, messy.
Does this feel like an area control game to you?
Yes.
But not in the traditional sense.
Not in the traditional sense, exactly. It does feel like an area control where you're trying to take control, but that's only one of the win conditions. There's other paths to victory.
Sure.
So if that's the path that you're choosing, then yes, it's a very strong area control where you're fighting whoever has control over that site. However, if that's not the path you're choosing, then you're kind of having to protect different win conditions among your board and build them up.
And really taking regions mostly to use the tableau effects, because you have your own group of advisors who are going to give you benefits, and then whatever area you control adds a tribe of denizens. These are abilities that you can utilize, take advantage of, but only while you still own it. Where's your head at, Jan?
It's still in this thing. It's insanity. So Shira talks about this game being tense and intense. So there's two very different types of players in this game, as we said. There's the exiles, and then there's the chancellor.
Sure.
I don't think you've had the chance
to be
yet.
a chancellor.
Yeah,
I have not. And we're not spoiling anything from the last game.
Yeah, true. But if there's tenseness in a game, it is the Chancellor. Everyone is out to get you. You can look at every corner and there's going to be like a little badger with a knife there, and then you look under the table and there's like a little mouse with a pitchfork or something. Every animal in the entire kingdom is out to get your throne, and you cannot trust anyone. And that's where this game gets absolutely crazy, because we've talked about forethought, we talked about planning, we've talked about thinking turns ahead. One of the interesting things about this game is what Shira already pointed to, that variable end condition, which is this dice. It can feel a little bit superfluous at times. However, what I believe that dice does is that it adds unpredictability to a game that can feel perfect, that makes it feel tense and appropriate to the theme. This is a game about how empires rise and fall, and it could sometimes be messy, it could sometimes be organized, and it can sometimes be planned.
I mean, the Chancellor in round 5 could have a heart attack.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that
and his
level,
successor can take the throne.
Yeah, and that level of theme integration with the tenseness and the mechanical elements that are overlaid on top of this just adds so much thought processes and so many different conditions, to the point where, as a player, you're literally saying, you know what? The game can end next turn, but if it doesn't, I have to plan out for that eventuality.
So both of you are sweeter on this than I am at the moment. I mean, I'm again, we're all about 3 games in, and I've got to be honest, I'm starting to tally up the list of things that I want to include in my 5 reasons you should not play Oath video, which is a series that we do here, and
we can give a few of those too, right?
Oh no, I'm sure you all can add them too, but I feel like that dice is a bit more anticlimactic. I feel like the theme and heart of the game that we saw originally, back when we were covering it, is a little bit more abstracted.
But it's not. That was there too.
No, I know it was. It's not quite there as cleanly. I'm just not connecting as much as I thought I would. And it could be the games we've played so far. With the amount of variability here and the opportunity for someone to be in a position where they're warring against the Chancellor, and someone to feel like they really are out of the sequence of the game.
I wonder how you would feel if you were the Chancellor.
I'd be curious. Now, and it's not that I have done poorly in every game we've played. Like, let me be clear about that. I've been contentious in some of them.
Yeah.
But I also haven't felt the amount of stress or the amount of angst that you have, and I haven't engaged with the puzzle the same way you have. And I don't quite know what I'm missing. There's a lot to manage. There's a lot going on. I understand it comes down to some of the visions that you get and how you're going after your objective. And I have had moments where I felt like I had a perfect plan, but the opportunity for other players to crush that has left me feeling a little dusty.
That is the crux of this game, and I think that's why you can't wrap your head around it, because you are used to huge turns, having huge payoff, and usually winning the game. In this game, a huge combo or move can cost you everything.
I had a great engine for this game.
You did.
And I had a great engine for this game.
Well, I did something that allowed me to secure so much control.
Yes.
But you cut your heel right there.
I understand.
Yeah.
In doing so, I also put myself in a position where, assuming things go okay...
And that's the thing.
I win.
That's this game.
I would have won.
This game, and that's why I think it's so thematic, because when you're trying...
You didn't think ahead for the next 3 turns if the game hadn't ended by the next turn.
Civilizations,
that's the problem. You have
sometimes...
to protect your win conditions so strongly that I haven't been thinking ahead about protecting my win condition, and that's, I think, where I've messed up. And But that's hard. I mean, in
Well,
an
and it's
8-round
different.
game.
In all the games so far,
Potentially 8-round game.
Right,
and
potentially 8-round.
we've
5 to 8.
continued. We haven't done the reset yet because we were saving it for the on-camera appearance. So please understand when I say this. You've played Chancellor all 3 games we've played so far. We've played Exiles all 3 games. The reason is because we wanted to learn our roles for on-camera.
Yeah.
And they're different games. They are.
Yes, 100%.
The issue I think I'm having, and that you're talking about, is with Exile we have to protect our win condition. With Chancellor, if the game goes to 8 rounds, your win condition's secured as long as you've shut down our objectives, right?
Yep.
Like, the pressure's there. And the people scrambling at your back is there. But for me, it's like when it all fell apart, well, I don't know what to do.
But again, that's because you cannot shoot your shot in this game without having every single thing planned.
I mean, all 3 of your advisors, the region that you're controlling when you take your turn, the potential relics that you have, the victory condition that you've had in your hand for 3 or 4 rounds, every single piece of that I think needs to be lined up.
And here's
if
the
it's
thing.
not, someone's going to find a weakness and jab into your armor.
Like, I have a way, I've thought about our last game, and I think I had figured out a way that I could have swung it. But the variability of this die wouldn't have guaranteed it.
And that's what I feel makes this game
Like if I had saved some
saucy.
of my big moves for the last round,
Exactly.
but it had ended here,
Yep,
I wouldn't
exactly.
have gotten to them.
Because people get confident.
Yes.
And
Like just
and
waiting.
I think that one thing that a lot of players are going to struggle with in this game is that this game is skewed in favor of the Chancellor every time.
It is.
Especially
It's asymmetry to a fault.
to a
almost.
point where it's unfair.
Yeah.
Because they're the king and queen of the entire kingdom.
So if we weren't recording a campaign, would you continue playing this campaign? Would you want to? Let's say we were not recording any more videos. Would you want to get
Would I
this back
want to
on the
continue being who?
Chancellor?
Well, continue playing this campaign.
It's the type of pressure and tenseness that I could deal with maybe once a month. It is not something that I can come back
That you
to
didn't
and back
invite
to
to
again.
yourself?
It just depends who I am. Like, for me, being in exile in this game is exciting because I'm trying to usurp, I'm trying to break down an established regime, and I have to figure
It's
out
like
the
you're trying
one
to
kink.
break the game when you're in exile.
Exactly.
And you usually like that kind of mechanic.
The
trying to
one
break
kink
it.
in the armor, I have to find it before everybody else and get through it.
Yes.
And do it in time and do it in the right moment. Like,
Yes.
when they were swinging their sword and they slightly lifted too much and they revealed that one
I
piece
think-
of flesh in the armor.
I think part of the thing I might be struggling with, though, in that, is that there's elements where I feel like I can break the game, but then I make one misstep or one wrong card play,
And
or
it costs you everything.
or discard one card from my tableau, and there's randomness mixed in with that ability to break the game. And so I have had various moments where I thought I had a good sequence, and then one misstep shifted the next 3 turns.
Yes.
Yep.
In a negative way, in a negative player experience. Would you continue? Like, is this
Wait,
a game?
you answer it first.
I don't know. I don't know if this is as good as the Oath we were playing back, and it could just be fond memories.
I think it's fond memories. It's basically the same experience that I
Are
saw
there any
there.
changes?
There are a few.
some.
Yeah, there are a few.
some.
Yeah.
Can you highlight the changes?
It was a long time
The
ago. I don't
cards,
remember
the cards are more
entirely.
developed. So card powers and the abilities. This row was never
Yeah,
here
that was in there.
originally.
Yep.
So the negotiation between being a citizen and not was
Bonuses
a
for
little bit
Oath
different.
Keeper, I think, were in there.
The entire war system is different. The entire battle system.
Okay.
And the original, it was based off of a more typical war game where you had highs and lows and you were able to control the variable, the percentages.
Yeah.
a lot more.
Yeah.
And so you could move into a battle guaranteeing a win or guaranteeing a loss. Now, I think they've done the math close here. I don't think it's so far off of where it was, but because of the different regions, the different bonuses, the different abilities, the dice roll, the swinginess, I think, is a little bit more open.
I think all the elements and calculations that you need to do in order to succeed at a battle are here.
I think you're
Would you continue playing this campaign if we?
I'm interested
weren't
to continue
videoing?
playing. I'm interested in continuing playing the campaign. I don't know that the game is something that is staying in my collection right now.
Sure.
I don't want to teach anyone else how to play this. I'm looking forward to
I
playing
mean,
more with you.
I don't
really
wanna
want to
teach-
play. I want to play the Chancellor. I want to figure out how this works.
Take it.
But
Please.
I think this right now isn't something that I'd continue pulling off the table as opposed to its counterpart, Root, which I've taught to nearly every new game group I've had. So I'm more mixed on this one. It's a little bit heavier. It's a little bit more complicated. It's a little bit more...
So let's talk about mechanics, because that's what is going to make this game shine, right?
And I want her to answer the question, too.
Oh, that's true, right? We all need to answer the question.
Well, no, her.
It's. Did you answer it?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, all of us, yeah.
You said you wouldn't continue playing the campaign if we weren't
Not
filming
necessarily.
it?
He'd play it like once every 2 months.
Yeah.
You drag it out much less frequently. And
it depends on
the
who I
campaign.
am. It depends on who I am.
I hear. So it's interesting that you say this is more complex than Root, because
I don't agree with him.
A while, I always thought Root, with all the different factions and all the minutia rules that come up, was like one of the most complex games I was gonna learn. I think you are correct in the sense that this game was a huge undertaking to learn, and I wouldn't want to teach it to anyone. Similar to Scarface, it's messy, and the rulebook is big, but I kind of want to see how it ends.
Sure.
Once I'm in the middle of something, I have a completionist aspect where I need to see how the campaign finishes.
But this game doesn't end.
I'm excited.
That's gonna make me upset.
It doesn't end.
We've set up like a 3 to 4 campaign story arc, and hopefully we'll feel a resolution. Because in the last games we were playing, we did feel a resolution. And I'll be honest, the picture that we painted while we were playing was decent. Like there's a picture here that you can pull. I just don't feel like I connected with it as strongly as I did in those originals.
Because in the previous one, we were tying in the story early on. We haven't really done the story. So here, for example, if we take time to kind of craft the tale of the gameplay...
Which we will be.
We'll probably get a little bit more into it. So in terms of the mechanical elements, this is where I disagree with you. Because I feel that this game overall, and the way that it plays, is actually much simpler than Root. There's less things to memorize, like Shira was saying. There's not enough... There's not as minutia as Root.
Because of the variability, though, in cards... In like just the randomness
in
from
terms
the
of
draw
planning,
deck, the relics, there's so much more going on here.
Yes.
The variability about how different cards can interact and bounce off of each other. We have to refer to the rules countless times during our gameplay because we just can't get those little...
You have to remember, too, like my advisory board, if I take over a region, changes dynamically every stage of the game.
You can always change your advisory board. You can always sacrifice one and put another one in, so your advisory board is not a constant thing. It's constantly changing. The areas on the board that you control and have access to the denizens are also constantly changing. Like access to this denizen that allows you to become a citizen if you defeat another exile person is insane.
Yep. I do have a theory, though. And here's why we're doing a first impressions. Both because I think people are interested and it's exciting to announce the campaign. I think our opinions are going to change over the course, because we're committed to another 3 or 4 games, right? And we're going to be doing a full right for you, wrong for you. We're going to be doing a full review at the end of that campaign sequence. We'll be, anywhere from 5, 6 to 10 games deep by that point.
So I should hold off the rating?
No. We're gonna do a rating. I think our ratings might change between
using
now.
A standard rating system. I know you slipped up there.
I think our ratings might change between now and when we hit the end. I think this game is one that will grow well with a group of people who are playing it, which is what the game is honestly designed to do. It's designed to be played time and time again with the same group of people consistently. And I think it will get better.
Root is also similar in that aspect. That it's much better if you're playing with a consistent group of people who consistently know the factions that you're playing with. Even if you have to swap one out or refresh, if the group understands the core
if they know how to balance it.
if they understand the balancing aspect and the core gameplay, it's a much quicker teach and a much quicker refresher.
So here's the last questions before we go into that rating, right? Mechanically, what elements did you like? What elements did you dislike beyond the dice, right? For me, what makes this game particularly unique is the multiple tableaus in across the entirety of the board.
It's one of the things I was going to say.
And how those tableaus interplay with each other all the time. How you have to constantly adapt to where things are and where you are in order to have access to those tableaus in different ways. That, to me, is probably the most innovative thing about this entire system. These cards make the game even more so than Root did.
Yeah.
These cards also.
The tableau that you're building is essential. The relics in your advisors and denizens. For me, it's going to be the variable win conditions and the fact that you never know which one is in play until it comes into play. Sure. When you trigger a vision, when you roll a die, every single stage of that, you can see someone prepping, gaining books, getting relics, but you don't know if they're prepping for something they're still looking for
Yes.
because they know it's possible, or if they're prepping to keep you from taking it, or if they have it and you're a turn away from them trying to win. That keeping you on your toes, that introduction of new win conditions is really, really nice. Whereas in Root, you're driving to 30, and you might see someone prepping to gain points,
race.
but the asymmetry when it comes to the victory is richer here.
And if they declare that they're taking themselves out and are going after a different win condition, everyone usually targets them.
It's never
Yep,
worked.
yep.
It's
Everyone
never worked.
targets them. They become one with a red flag on their board, and then there's usually kind of a runaway leader I've seen. Disliking, I did not like that if you want to keep your vision secret, it takes up one of your advisor's spots.
Sure.
That frustrates me. I wish if it could just stay here as hidden, so that you still can... I feel like the exile people are at such a disadvantage already fighting against the Chancellor that they need every shot they can get. I love the tableau building. I think the resource generation is actually
I was
interesting.
going to mention that as my second point.
It's
Yep.
dependent on the banks down here.
It's true.
If the banks are empty, there's
can't
a
do it.
couple times I wanted to take from the Fox Beast Bank, and I couldn't because we were all
Sure.
taking from that bank, and you had a card that allowed you to like
Empty it
deplete
out.
and drain banks. I think the resource generation is cool. I do kind of like the area control. And that's my genre, and I like that you can choose to fight the neutral party in the region if no one has control over it, or you can fight one, you can fight a couple sites, you can fight their main pawn. It offers a lot of options depending on how much power you have on your board.
Sure.
And I think with that, we've all mentioned something that we liked. I think we've mentioned things that we're disliking.
The more we're talking, the more I'm getting into like, I would like to play again. I'd like to...
So then should we keep talking for another
It's hard.
3 minutes?
It's hard for me, right? I'm conflicted on this game. I don't know where it sits. That's the hard part for me.
So are you going to give us a full round rating, or are you going to give us a bourbon scale rating?
We'll see.
No bourbon
Who
scale.
wants to- you wanna start?
Overlord rules, we are not
Jen,
using
go ahead
bourbon
and start
scale.
the rating off.
I'm starting the rating.
So we're going to be using Board Game Co.'s rating system. 1 is just a straight bad game.
Yep.
2 is a game that is decent. Like, it's a game.
It's
You would acknowledge
a
it's a
decent
game.
but not for you.
Not for you. 3 is going to be a game that you would be happy to play, but you're not
Requesting.
4 is going to be a game.
Great game.
4 is going to be a great game. Yeah, 3 is a good game, a solid
Yes.
game that you're not requesting. 4 is going to be a great game, period. 5 is going to be a game you're disappointed that your friends don't like.
Yes.
If someone shows up to your house and they're like, oh, I played that, it's not really my favorite, you think a little bit less of them.
Yes, or a lot less.
Or a lot less. Jan,
So, with that rating system in mind, Jan, what would
now
you...
remember, we are going to have a finished review
At the end.
at the end of the campaign. So
And
this
we
is...
have to
And
have...
unlike Board Game Co., I think we are allowed to use decimals.
Oh, we can?
I think so.
Excellent. I was about to ask that because I
think we
feel there's a
can.
lot of nuance that is lost when we don't use decimals.
Yes, I like the decimals. I know it just translates it into a 10-point scale,
Yeah.
but I like the clearness of the 5-point scale with the decimals kind
with
of
a bit of flexibility.
flexibility.
I don't think anyone's going to expect this from me.
I think, should we predict? I think he's ranking it.
Don't guess. Let him do it.
I want to guess.
You can guess then.
I think he's going to rank it a 4.5.
Do you agree with her?
I think you're right.
3.8.
3.8.
Really?
So
Based on
almost
the
a 4.
descriptors that you said,
Sure.
this is not a game that I would look
You think
to
it's
play.
a great game, but you're not requesting it.
Exactly. Exactly. Because
I guess that does make a little bit more sense.
this kind of falls to me in the same realm that Twilight Imperium does,
Yeah, we want to
where
play it once every 2 months.
it's an
He's not
incredibly
requesting.
heavy game that takes out a lot of me.
Sure.
That is just maybe a little bit too much and too ambitious for myself to bring to my play
Sure.
group. Root has a certain charm to it and levity to
Yeah.
the way that the combat works there, that it's a lot more freeform, and as a war game, because this at the end of the day will always be a war game, is something that I will always probably prefer over playing the gut-wrenching, like Odyssey that is Oath, and that is in itself a huge praise for this
Sure.
game, for the people that want it, and that might change, as Jesse stated,
I think it might.
throughout our
I
plays.
think as you get more, as this gets more accessible to us,
I'm curious
the-
what our ratings are
I
gonna be at
really
the
want to
end.
be a different type of character.
where are yours?
Why do I want to go last. I like last.
Okay.
I know what mine is.
Where I'm sitting right now is going to be about a 3.2 to a 3.5. Again, it's almost for the same reasons you're saying, except for the fact that I also don't think this is quite as good as I was hoping it would be. I don't know where that is, but for me, I haven't had a game in the 3 experiences I've had so far, I haven't had a game where I felt like it clicked.
Yeah. That you haven't been able to grasp it.
Well, it's... And I don't know if it's grasping it. I don't know if it's how I play. I like messy games. I like Tableau. I'm not a big area control fan, but there's enough play in here that I shouldn't have to be.
Yeah, there's
realistically.
a lot of
You don't have to even worry.
But there
about
hasn't
that, really.
been one yet where even ones where I did good, even ones that resulted in my favor, I haven't in the process felt like I'd flipped that lever.
Because that was anticlimactic.
I'm thinking, I'm hoping that I get to a point over the next few games that it does. And I can come back. I don't think this rests at a 5 for me. I think it could rest solidly at a 4, though, where I want to get to the table. Where I'm excited, if we're 3 are together, and I know we know it, the game we're playing is Oath and a few others that we only play with each other.
Yep.
But right now, it's a 3.5-ish.
Yep.
It just has to be. If it doesn't click for me by the end of this, it probably won't stay in the collection.
Yep.
I'm gonna give it a 3.9.
Whoa! Okay, I was not expecting that one.
What were you expecting?
No
I was
points at
expecting
all.
a
I think
4. I was expecting 4.
Why'd you take it down?
4 or
Why did
4.2.
So I debated. It was a 4 originally, and then I started thinking about the nuances and why I ticked it down. I think I have enough criticisms and complaints about it that I can't call it great. I mean, great... 4s are a great game. 5s are you're upset if your friends don't want to play it. I can't call it great. It's a good game. And I want to get it to the table, which is why I'm close enough to
higher.
the 4.
Yep.
I think it can swing up,
It
and
might.
I hope it will swing up. But I don't like this dice. There's a couple things that I just don't like. I don't like how strong the Chancellor is. It doesn't feel conquerable. And those are just the games that I've played. So I have some complaints, which is why I ticked it down just 0.1.
And it's funny
Alex is
because
going to be ashamed of our rating system.
I know. It's funny because I like the points. They add just a bit of flexibility.
Of course.
Yes, and then they allow you to elaborate and explain.
Adobo sazon keeps it spicy and interesting.
It's interesting because historically in our older plays, the Chancellor
was
a
weaker.
little bit weaker.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
it was a little
100%.
bit
It was weaker. Yeah.
Either way, that's where we are right now. Now,
a lot.
remember, this isn't the final say. This is first
That's a lot.
impressions. This is where we are at the game after about 3 plays deep, and we're committed to finish this campaign on the channel whenever we feel satisfied over the course of the next month or so, and then we'll be back for another full rundown and final review and final thoughts on this. So, if you enjoy what we're creating here, hit the subscribe button down below. If you want to see both gameplays, stay tuned here and swing over to the Patreon to watch that first one, which, like I said, is available right now. Whatever you do.
Remember to do the important thing. And praise the decimal.
Get out and play Oath.
We'll see you next time. Thanks.